I am sure you have all heard of LVMH buying a majority stake in Capital through the private equity firm KAPITAL. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's because I don't respect them. A lot of Capital fans are freaking out, rightfully so. LVMH buy businesses in order to expand their portfolio and increase profits. They see Capital as a brand they can milk for a few more millions. I will talk about all of that, and at the end of the video, I will tell you a story that will hopefully make you feel a bit optimistic about this acquisition. According to hypebeast.com by Sophie Karan, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name wrong, KAPITAL, the LVMH-backed private equity firm, has acquired a majority stake in the Japanese brand Capital for an undisclosed amount of money. Majority can range from 51% to 99%. They can now get final say, macro. We don't know how the negotiation went or whether or not Kiro fought for final say on creative decisions. We'll talk about all of that later. First off, who is KAPITAL, an American multinational private equity firm founded in Greenwich, Connecticut in 1989. The firm has made over 250 investments in brands across segments of the consumer industry. Here are some of their current investments. They got around 34 billion of assets under their name, 17 locations across 5 continents. The firm was founded by J. Michael Chu, Frank Vest, William E. Simon. The firm was once called KAPITAL Partners, but it was merged with Bernard Arnault's LVMH in 2016 to create KAPITAL. This is why all of the news are saying LVMH bought the brand. LVMH also probably used KAPITAL to buy it, so less heat will be on them. Well, yes, let's just say L now. L has a few fashion companies under their belt. LVMH is more known for acquiring young, small, or independent fashion brands. People generally don't like when a big conglomerate buy a beloved independent brand. PR-wise, a good move by LVMH, but not a great move. I would have been more open about it, get the Capital team to explain why this acquisition is a good deal for them, give out a bit more information like Kiro and the team will still get final say on creative decisions. Their job is to simply inject the company with money, sit back and watch the money grow as Capital grow because they love Capital. That would have eased some negative talking points, of which we will talk about shortly. The first one to break the news was Hypebeast, I believe, or like a fan or someone noticed that Capital was listed under L investment page. I was only able to find the global net sales of Capital web shop. They made 6.8 million in 2023. It should be noted that the web shop is exclusive to Japan. Here is all the list of their worldwide stockists. They got 4 denim factories, 1 dyeing facility. With 6.8 million sales, we can kind of infer a bit, but not a lot. It's something, better than nothing. Do with that number what you will. Before we get into the bad points that are brought up by fans, let's look at one of LVMH's previous acquisition failure, Off-White by Virgil Abloh. LVMH acquired a 60% stake in Off-White in 2021. The prices of Off-White product increased significantly after the acquisition. They need to get their money back and profit that they get hunger for, Fans of Off-White said the quality got worse. The collection became more data-driven. What sold well last year? What can we bring back from the past to reignite a bit of nostalgia? Ultimately, it wasn't about what Off-White can do now and in the future. It was about using the slogans and logos Off-White has trademarked or are known for to continuously re-release popular products until they get their money back. We know the acquisition failed because in late 2024, LVMH sold Off-White to Blue Star Alliance for an undisclosed amount of money again. LVMH also bought Marc Jacobs in 1997, hoping to make it a high fashion label, but it has failed in my opinion. Marc Jacobs is now kind of seen as mid-tier, and they're best known for the tote bag, which is not selling at a luxury price point. Marc Jacobs is now being compared to Michael Kors, not Chanel. I've identified several potential concerns regarding the acquisition. By the way, I haven't watched any video regarding the acquisition, seen a few posts and comments, but no video. I want my opinion or my analysis, whatever you want to call this, to be my own, uninfluenced by other creators. Might lead to some redundancy, but I get my plausible deniability. I believe I made one of the best Capital Board review. Go watch it. Great video. I have very few Capital pieces, so I know very little. So hardcore Capital fans, please correct me if I got any parts wrong. The most important point I can come up with, and many other will too, is the quality and craftsmanship of the Capital garments. A lot of Capital products relies on traditional labor and time-intensive techniques such as the indigo dye process, which prioritize artistry over efficiency. It's not unreasonable to think that LVMH might pressure Capital into using synthetic dyes to cut costs and streamline production. high chance LVMH or L will try to increase revenue by more mass production. They might expand manufacturing, invest in more factories, hire more people, partner up with more retailers. So now the Capital team has more to produce. This might cost a bit of quality. Look at Marvel and their terrible busy schedule. This has put a huge toll on their CGI team, hence why we got scenes like this. We might see Capital stores popping up in New York, LA, London, Berlin, Paris, and more major fashion cities. Good for attracting new customers, but this might push the production team to the brink. We will see how much creative control over this aspect that Capital, Kiro, and his lawyer are able to negotiate for. I can only speak for myself, but I really like knowing that my Boro jacket takes a really long time to make, and that the only reason they release so few each season is not because of artificial scarcity, but really because that's all they can make per year or per season. There's a charm in wearing a product that is handmade. There are definitely machines that can replicate the Boro or Shishiko techniques down to the T, but that's not the point of the Boro jacket. To me, it's about when I look down and I can see an experienced Japanese craftsman sitting down and doing all of this by hand. It makes me appreciate the garment more. It makes me look at humanity in a brighter light, knowing that someone in my species was able to create this, but it took them years to master their craft. Second point, executive from LVMH or L will have seats at the table, or loss of independence from the Capital team. Think Rick Owen, an independent brand. He can do whatever he wants. He can blast as many political statements he wants. A brand like LV will try to stay clear of, let's say, picking a side between Israel versus Palestine. Rick do not care. Rick and Michelle are wholeheartedly behind Palestine. They have no major conglomerate to answer to, no executive to answer to. By the way, free Palestine. What if Capital want to make a political statement with their collection and the executive from LVMH vetoed that? That could jeopardize the integrity or spirit of the brand. Knowing who LVMH is, they might ask the creative team to design an it bag.
Are you married with Arnaud? You have to make a bag.
What if the executive make the creative team release product they don't want to? Capital also release product when they're ready, and the quantity is dependent on how many they can make. When LVMH give Capital to more retailers, they will have a quota to fill. This could hurt the people making the clothes and the quality of the clothes. Capital is a very hard brand to commercialize, so I hope LVMH will not use the method they use with Off-White to try to make Capital a success and get their money back. I hope they study up on Capital and the target audience. There's a reason why it's beloved. It's unique, so the business approach to try to scale the company will also need to be unique. Now, hopefully, Kiro was able to negotiate a clause in which he has final say over all creative control. Again, we don't know. The report did say majority stake. If KAPITAL only wanted to see Capital succeed, they could have done silent partner. A silent partners are investors that provide companies financial support without being involved in the day-to-day operation or any major decision-making process. One of the easiest ways to get their money back is to increase the prices of the products. Capital is priced very fairly for what they produce. Well, in Japan anyway. When they reach their worldwide stockist, prices increase significantly because Japan crazy import-export tax, but that's not on Capital. But at that rate though, it's still relatively cheap for the amazing product that they produce. For example, without the current state of the yen being so low, the Boro jacket is sold for 130,000 yen, or roughly $1,300. On their worldwide stock, they sell for roughly 2K. LVMH did increase Off-White prices. They could and probably will do the same with Capital, unless Kiro and the team at Capital put in a clause in which they get final say on that as well. Chances of that is low though. These private equity firms buy majority share to get the final say on the financial side. The psychological side of why Capital fans don't like the acquisition is not wanting their favorite underground brand to become a worldwide brand, to be more mainstream. I once heard a friend say, yeah, I used to like The Weeknd before he became mainstream and people started to listen to him more. I hear them more from social media, radio and whatnot, and I stopped because it wasn't niche anymore. It wasn't because the music got worse. They just like listening to artists who are not mainstream, who are low key. They want to be able to say they got to them before the general public got to them. In short, gatekeeping. I could have just said that, but I'm an asshole. With Capital being so niche, so little stockish worldwide, it creates a nice chase for the consumer who are not in Japan. I've seen people travel to Japan simply because the price of hotel flight are still cheaper to buy Capital in Japan. They buy in bulk for friends and family or buy to resell. They also get to travel to Japan, eat Japanese food, watch hentais from the original country. Being so niche make the chase to acquire a Capital piece a bit harder. It took me years to to finally get my Boro jacket. I can't go to Japan because I'm busy. I refuse to buy from Capital Partner retailer because I know the upcharge is outrageous. I had to scroll through Grail and eBay, bargain with seller, had to make sure the seller got good reviews, make sure they're legit. I truly believe that the chase made me a bigger fan of this Boro jacket. Chances of LVMH being as business savvy is incredibly high. They will use every tricks they can to make money with their acquisition. I don't blame them. They got shareholder to please. They need to expand their portfolio. The luxury market right now is not doing so well. Me being optimistic though, let me see if I can appease your mind a little bit. We don't know how the negotiation went. The team and lawyers at Capital definitely know the luxury market isn't doing too well, so they can use that to get a better deal out of this. What if Kiro retained all creative control? What if Kiro specifically asked for handmade product to still be handmade? What if Kiro is as smart as we think and he knows and loves the Capital brand that his father built and he himself built? Make sure to put in clauses that will give him more control than being led on by the words majority stake in the reports. Let's be happy that Kiro and everyone who will get a share of the money from this deal will be able to, live a happy life. These people that created a product we love will be able to use that money to buy a house that they really wanted, a car they really wanted, a watch. They put their blood, sweat, and tears into this company. Now they are rewarded financially. God forbid this deal turns out the same as Off-White. These people who created a product we love will still get their money. Of course, I'm discounting their love and connection to the brand in that scenario, but let's truly try to look at it from the bright side. I would like to end this video by sharing a story by Alan Watts called The Chinese Farmer.
Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer who lost a horse, ran away. And all the neighbors came around that evening and said, "That's too bad." And he said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back and brought 7 wild horses with it. And all the neighbors came around and said, "Why, that's great, isn't it?" And he said, "Maybe." The next day, his son was attempting to tame one of these horses and was riding it and was thrown and broke his leg. And all the neighbors came round in the evening and said, "Well, that's too bad, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." And the next day, the conscription officers came around looking for people for the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. And all the neighbors came round that evening and said, "Isn't that wonderful?" And he said, "Maybe." The whole process of nature is an integrated process of immense complexity, and it is really impossible to tell whether anything that happens in it is good or bad, because you never know what will be the consequences of a misfortune, or you never know what will be the consequences of good fortune.